Hey, y'all. Sorry for the little hiccup there. Just been the New Year's hangover, getting everything together. I'm going to start practicing saying y'all because we're going to be 51st state pretty soon, right? I don't think we'll count on that happening. But what a bizarre year when we're starting out with a discussion of a very unusual president constantly mocking Canada, talking about annexing us, and a completely incompetent but thankfully outgoing prime minister who is, unfortunately, though, not in a strong position to deal with that right now. What is it, the old Chinese proverb of a curse and a blessing, asking, wishing somebody lives in interesting times. Interesting times we certainly have. I got a good show coming up, lots to cover again. Boy, there's no shortage of news items to cover. Use that comment scroll, guys. Let me know what you're seeing, what you're thinking. If you got questions, things like that. That's part of the fun of being on a live broadcast. I got a couple of guests coming on in a little while. They're Kris Holthe, I'm terrible with names, and Tessa Partridge-Mather. And they're of New World Precious Metals. We're going to talk about gold, silver, those sorts of investments, precious metals, because when you're in an unstable world, actually, precious metals tend to be one of the things that stays stable and constant. All right, I'll be checking in with a news update from Dave pretty quickly as well. But let's start off with Gus. What's got me pissing and moaning today? So, as more information trickles out to the public on the latest Trudeau debacle. Wait a minute. Interesting. I've got the wrong monologue loaded, but that's all right. I'll find it on my computer and we'll get the right one and deal with that. So that one sounded familiar. It's because it's the one I did a little while ago. All right, we're getting into a new era, a new era of media here in the Western Standard, and throws my flow right off, but that's okay. I wrote this. Check my mic. Is everybody hearing me? Can I get a thumbs up from somebody? So, as I said, we have a few technical issues going on. I just need to know if people are listening before I start that monologue. So, any commenters, if you kindly let me know if you can hear me or not. It doesn't appear that you do. So, as soon as you guys hear me, we'll get going on this, and we'll see what we can do with it. But so I got no sound going on, or what? Well, I haven't had anybody commenting saying they do. Either way, let's try with the monologue. A new era of politics and media. Get back to that. Has begun, and it's going to blossom in 2025 while the last generation of politicians continue to cater to the communication platforms held by the last generation of media. Forward-thinking politicians have embraced new independent media outlets. In the USA, the established media is firmly Democrat. In Canada, the Laurentian media establishment is dedicated to the Liberal Party. Of course, in both nations, the establishment elites have been bypassed by conservative politicians. Now those politicians have solid leads and support. Why? They went to alternative media platforms. So shortly before the 2024 presidential election in the United States, we all remember Donald Trump sat down for a 3-hour interview with Joe Rogan. I mean, that's unprecedented. And that interview garnered well over 50 million views on YouTube and likely a similar number of downloads on Spotify. I mean, think about reaching a quarter of the American population in a long-form interview format. I mean, it would have been unimaginable, a dream for a politician only a few years ago. And Trump upset the establishment and solidly won this presidency. And he did so despite legacy media outlets, not because of them. So, the alternative media contributed. I mean, that wasn't the thing that necessarily got him winning, but it certainly was a part of it. Now in Canada, we have Pierre Poilievre. He appeared on Jordan Peterson's podcast for a 90-minute interview in the new year. The interview has gone viral, and the establishment, of course, is aghast. Oh, you should listen to Coin. Man, it's special. It was typically a slow media period. That interview garnered over 2 million views on YouTube and millions more on X. Poilievre reached a significant portion of Canadians in a short period at no cost to his party, aside from time. You can't buy advertising as effective as this, and the interview is galvanizing his path to the prime minister's chair. The days of little soundbite politics, they're over. Sure, every politician wants to pop out a memorable and quotable one-liner now and then, and they're going to keep trying. But citizens who they decide to vote for, they're going to expect more now. They know politicians can speak to them in a long-form format, and they're going to want them to use it. People they want to get to know who's vying for the job of governing, and they don't want them hiding from new media sources. Now, not just any politician can take advantage of independent media platforms effectively. Could you imagine Justin Trudeau trying to do a 1.5 or 3 hour unscripted interview? Trudeau needs lines written for him. Apparently I do too, looking at this thing. Hey, I'm improvising a lot of this. If he doesn't have them, he descends into witless utterances of word salad. Viewers would tune him out after 10 minutes, and the interviewer hard-pressed not to show pain while trying to get answers from him. I mean, Trudeau was the ideal candidate for media platforms of a decade ago. Social media was all short form. The quotes written for him could go viral, and the photo sessions of him with his hair cascading behind him in Fabio style could be released to grace the walls of fangirls in college dorms and behind CBC news desks. Trudeau's face could appear everywhere while the words attributed to him were carefully curated. But those days are gone. People want to feel they've gotten to know the politician vying for their support, and only long-form interviews with a real candid feel can do that. This can backfire, of course. If the politician's truly an odious character, well, you're only going to get to know them better and get to dislike them more. Trump's an abrasive, arrogant man. And after listening to him for hours in the Joe Rogan interview, I still saw him as an abrasive, arrogant man. But I did find myself a little more endeared to him, at least a little less put off. With that much time to listen to him, he was humanized, at least felt a little more like somebody who would do more good than harm. And truly, a lot of Americans got that impression as well. Poilievre, he's always been a wonky pit bull kind of a politician. He's been effective in attack mode in the House of Commons, but hadn't established himself yet as a person with a plan to govern the country. Well, after listening to him on Peterson's show, nobody can claim he's hiding his plans, and he's pretty confident in his pursuit of them. He's smart, personable, and he's going to shake the establishment to the core for the better when he becomes prime minister. The impression that could never have been communicated to citizens in any other way than a long-form sit-down interview. Progressive politicians, they'll learn and embrace the world of independent media, but they've let themselves fall behind in that evolution as they clung to the sinking ship of legacy media. They're going to be climbing uphill when the CBC is defunded, and boy, I'm looking forward to it. And those legacy media subsidies are cut. North America, we're heading into a remarkable year with new leadership in both the United States and Canada. And the traditional gatekeepers of communication and information are dying, and we're all better for it. So let's bring on the age of independent media. And I promise you, we'll get better at our tech issues as we go ahead with it. Okay, well, that's what's got me to kick things off today. Let's talk about some more things and broader things. We got our news editor, Dave Naylor, in the studio here, and let's get an update on what else is happening in the world. We'll have. There we go. Hey, Dave.
Hey, there I am.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I even came back on my holiday a day early.
Yeah, you masochistic man. You.
Anyway, no comment. You know, I thought you had your monologues all memorized.
Well, pretty close. That's why I stumbled a bit. I mean, I'm going between my memory and what I've written and back and forth. It makes it worse. I almost could have been better just to blather that off the top of my head. But
did very well.
Well, thanks.
So where are you off to? The desert again?
I am. Back into the desert.
Middle of nowhere, set up your trailer.
Quartzsite area, solar panel, generator, and yeah, Jane and I, if we don't kill each other, we'll bond and enjoy ourselves and relax.
Be careful of the snakes, eh?
Yeah, I don't mind the snakes like you do.
Anyways, as you can imagine, the fallout continues from Mr. Trudeau's so-called resignation. You'll remember Tamara Leach and Kris Barber from the Freedom Convoy. They were interviewed by Fox last night, and that's leading off our website at the moment. And you can guess what they have to say about Mr. Trudeau and his farewell. Was it Springfield, Ohio? They were eating the cats, eating the dogs. Well, Vancouver's got them beat. They're eating the eagles.
There can't be that much meat on one.
Well, especially it was a young one too. But the cops went to the bridge there, as Lionsgate Bridge, and somebody had found an injured eagle, and they were preparing to eat it. So fortunately, the bird was rescued and is now rehabilitating. But eagle wings. I guess maybe we could start a new trend. Well, you've run the restaurant.
I have. We would be the only. Would have been the only one in the block offering eagle wings.
Yeah, I bet you they're bigger than chicken wings.
Probably.
Elon Musk called Trudeau a girl today. So their war of words continues. He's basically saying, "Sit down, girl. You're no longer even the governor of the 51st state." And Romeo LeBlanc, the finance minister, has ruled out running for the Liberal leadership. And we got tons and tons of opinion led by our erstwhile opinion editor, Nigel Hannaford, talking about this Trudeau situation, using words I've never heard of before, but I'm sure our readers will have better luck.
Nigel gets me bringing that dictionary out
sometimes. He's a bit crazy, man. And the big wildfires in Los Angeles, we're keeping a close eye on. It's pretty bad. A lot of Hollywood stars looks to be losing their home, and it's bad for the horses and animals, and the looters have apparently begun. So
at least they shoot them down there.
There you go. And Trump is blaming Governor Newsom for the whole mess.
So the fingers will be pointing for a while on it. Let's
They
just
will.
hope, anyways, that they manage to get it under control and they can all start squabbling over whose fault it is later.
Yeah, we all know the experience too well of those big forest fires coming into towns, right? So
That we
good
certainly
luck to
do.
them.
Yeah, well, I won't have to worry about those out in the sand and scrub where I'm parking for a while. So.
You have a great holiday.
Great, thanks, Dave. All right, well, I'll let you get back to that newsroom and on things. So I appreciate the update. And
Thank you.
just kicking off the new year on eagle wings. All right, and that's why I like to remind everybody. You see, we want to keep fixing these things. Hey, get on and subscribe. That's how we pay the bills, guys. Those of you who have subscribed already, we really appreciate it. We are independent media. I mean, that's where I was patting our own back a little bit with things. It's only $9.99 a month, $100 for a year, full access to all the stuff behind the paywall out there, guys. Check that out, Western Standard online, or it's westernstandard.news now, and take out a subscription. Get on there. It helps us. If you have already subscribed, we really do appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, consider it, guys. Just like an old newspaper subscription. As you see, Dave is covering all those stories, the serious ones and the less serious. I mean, I guess, people eating eagles, that is serious. That's bizarre. The world's a strange place. And you need to break up the stories. And the stories in the serious realm are just as bizarre as the people eating eagles. I mean, really, look at this year so far. Look at this. We got Musk taunting Trudeau. That's one of the things I said on X a little while ago, and it's the truth of it. Trudeau is the pencil neck geek of the international leader world. I mean, he's the dork. Nobody's got respect for him whatsoever, whether it's other leaders, whether it's Elon Musk. They mock the guy. And unfortunately, by extension, that's mocking Canada, because for now, whether we like it or not, that ass clown is our prime minister. He didn't quite resign. He gave notice. So he's not out. So we still have to put up with this humiliation. We have to put up with these headaches. But again, the stories being serious and not serious. Dave didn't mention, but with Fox News, the American outlets picking us up and things like that, and going viral throughout X and all those independent media outlets. But those who might not have caught it, Elizabeth May got up there. Oh, yes, here's somebody really doing Canada proud. Elizabeth May was up talking about how this 51st state conversation, which is just getting so weird and bizarre. She's talking, well, no, we should just have Oregon and the West Coast and California join Canada and Washington. Like, as if things aren't messed up and weird and unreasonable enough as it is. We had good old Liz May weighing in on maybe how we should parse up North America for the sake of the country. And DJ, one of the commenters, saying Elizabeth May is an American. Yeah, she was born in the States. I imagine she still maintains citizenship on both sides. They're welcome to have her back. We really could do worse than have her still hanging around. As I said, she probably just wants cleaner, easier access to California wine. She's proven herself repeatedly to be an aficionado of many of the finer spirits around the world. Unfortunately, though, when her ramblings get onto news such as Fox, it just makes Canada look even more comical. It's getting bizarre. We're looking right now. We've got this period of stasis we're sitting in. We got a prime minister who's kind of given notice. He's lost all public support. He's lost all international respect. And now the Liberals are scrambling. Clearly, they weren't quite planning on this. So they got a leadership race that they're probably going to have to open and close in a matter of less than 2 months. Normally, it's 5 to 6 months. They got to find a leader, get this person in, get some bills through the House of Commons. If not, they're going to go down the second they become leader, and they're going to be straight into a general election where they will be annihilated. And you might notice that people are all talking now, who is going to run for the Liberal leader? And nobody of note has put their name forward yet, because who wants to be the next Kim Campbell? Who wants to be the one who was in there? I guess you can get your painting up on the parliamentary wall. You would have been a prime minister, if only for a short period, but you're going to be out of there. So, it's not a large lineup for that job. So the Liberals are scrambling. It's similar to Alberta right now. We've got, a Liberal Party of Alberta. I know not many people realize it exists. It was actually strong at one time. It drove the agenda at one time. I'll show my age, but back in the early 1990s, it was the Liberal Party driving the agenda that drove Ralph Klein into being fiscally conservative. It was actually the Liberals breathing down the neck of the progressive conservatives pushing them to balance the budget, pushing them, to get their finances in order. But eventually, slowly but surely, the Liberals were Liberals. They declined. They got worse. And in Alberta, they actually held a leadership race in 2022 for the Alberta Liberal Party, the party that was threatening to win government in the 1990s. And guess what? Not a single person applied for the job. A complete embarrassment for this rump of a party. And basically, they just said, well, you know what? We're going to make our interim leader our permanent leader. And he's been sitting there ever since, unheard of in the background. Now we've got a similar thing going on. There's Kris, one of our commenters, saying he pounded on the doors on behalf of the Alberta Liberal Party in 1992 in Ponoka. Yeah, the Alberta Liberals were strong and they were reasonable, but they turned into these goofy, strange, woke Liberals of today, and Trudeau's really crushed them into the dust. I mean, normally a government in power with an opening for the leadership, you would have people throwing their names out left and right. They kind of want that job. Right now, we're already in, and nobody's quite jumping onto that list. It'll be interesting to see who the Kim Campbell II will be. We'll talk a little more about that after my next segment. So yes, I've got my guests in studio. We're going to get off the full politics thing. Well, everything is tied to politics one way or another in a lot of things, but still, we've got our real life to go on, and a lot of things are getting forgotten in all this lunacy right now. The Canadian dollar, for example, boy, is it ever going down. Currency in general. Finances, we still got to pay the bills. We've got a lot of things to worry about. We need some serious conversations. The government's not going to take care of us. That's getting pretty clear. We've got to take care of ourselves. And some of that discussion is, well, what do we do with our money to maximize? What can we do? What are some of the things in the world? So from New World Precious Metals, I've got, I slaughtered your name I asked earlier. I think it was, so it's Kris Holthe.
That's right.
Oh, okay. And Tessa Partridge-Mather. Okay, well, both of you guys have come in. Thank you, and I appreciate your patience on my naming. I get my own wrong sometimes.
Thanks for having us, Cory.
Yeah, no, I really do appreciate it. Like, these are singular times, they're very strange. We can't forget the important things as we watch the news and everything else. We got to take care of ourselves, and there's been more talk about that. And precious metals, I mean, it's a field all of its own, but it's like a constant. Historically, precious metals were the initial items of trade, or the first forms of currency, really. I guess, I could start with you, Kris. Like, what's the importance of this, that your business is about?
Yeah, so we're in the business of, we're brokers, and we help people purchase physical precious metals. Precious metals have been basically used as money for the last 5,000 years. And they're still used as money today. Central banks hold gold is considered a tier 1 asset. There's only 2 in the world. And so being that precious metals are difficult and expensive to mine, they have all the attributes of money. They have been used as money throughout time, and still are today. So we help people basically protect their wealth.
Okay, so something you mentioned right off the start. I mean, so you're talking about physical purchase of gold. So it's not a matter of like making a bet on the commodity price or something like that. Like,
no,
you guys actually
we don't deal in futures, derivatives, or anything like that. We only deal in physical precious metals. We actually have 2 very unique platforms. When the average person thinks owning gold and silver, they think buying some coins, some bars, and storing them at home or in a safe. But actually, we help people divest a part of their assets into physical gold and silvers through an international account, and also through rolling over portions of their registered accounts. So we work with Precious Metals International. They have been around for 25 years. They have a proven platform. The clients receive a Cayman Island jurisdiction, and held in these accounts is only physical gold and silver. It is stored in Safe Security Depository, International Depository Services of Canada. It's outside the banking system, so it has an international jurisdiction on this account. We also do corporate accounts, and the average citizen can basically have access to moving a portion of their wealth outside the banking system into an international jurisdiction, which is been very popular in the last few years. We also help people roll over a portion of their registered accounts into precious metals through our proven partnership with Questrade.
And then, so gold is, of course, the first one people think of. But as you mentioned earlier, when I was talking to you before, silver, of course, it gets overlooked. It's another precious metal, and it's rides the markets fairly stably as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yep. Silver, because it has three unique properties, it conducts electricity and heat better than any other element, and it's also the shiniest metal. It actually has over 10,000 applications. So is one of the most used commodities on Earth. And it's also considered, just given its price point right now, like one of the cheapest commodities on Earth, given all of its applications.
So when we're talking, though, about taking, I mean, that's where I guess a service like you guys, I mean, it's not as simple then as just buying some metal, keeping it at home, which a person, theoretically could do.
And we do that too. Do that too. We just don't recommend that people have over approximately $10,000, at home for safety reasons.
Yeah.
So we have clients that they take a portion of the metals home and then they roll over a portion of their registered savings. And they also invest outside the banking system with our international account.
Yeah, so taking investments outside of Canadian borders, I mean, it's just an area where a person also wants to make sure they're doing it right or doing it carefully.
Absolutely.
And that's part of where I imagine you guys are helping with this. I mean,
yeah, so we are regulated by FinTrack. We're regulated by anti-money laundering regulations, terrorist financing regulations. So we have to make sure we know our customer, we know where the money's coming from. And the average Canadian citizens that we work with are hardworking people, many of them rural. They're looking for ways that they can grow and protect their wealth and move some outside of the banking system. Actually, Canada is one of the countries with the largest amount of banking hegemony. We invest our money solely inside Canadian jurisdiction. That's very uncommon. In the rest of the world, most countries that are Western countries have portions of their wealth invested in other jurisdictions, but we solely grow our wealth within the Canadian jurisdiction. And only recently, given the last 9-10 years of our government, et cetera, have been people been interested in, hey, maybe there's other places to store our wealth. How can we alternatives to grow our wealth, basically?
Yeah. So, I mean, everything has their ups and downs. Quite often it's something you've always been able to see. If a currency goes down, often the precious metals will go up. I mean, that's where investors tend to go if they're losing confidence in a fiat currency. So, I mean, as a hedge against the Canadian dollar dropping, precious metals, I imagine, have been a good bet lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Over the course of the last 25 years, the price of gold has appreciated on average 9% a year. Even last year alone, the price appreciated by 27%. And if you take a look historically, back in 1913, when the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States, was created, gold was trading at $20.67. And nowadays it trades at, $2,600. And so if you do the math, you can see that the value of the US dollar has lost about 98% of its purchasing power in terms of gold, the value of gold.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still always, a person has to think very carefully. I mean, you've only got so much in your portfolio. How much do you suggest a person kind of dedicates that? I mean, you were saying some of the risk is having everything in the eggs in one basket in Canada, but at the same time, you don't want to pour too much into another investment, I guess. But I mean, what's a reasonable amount a person could be looking at then?
I would say historically, wealth managers have recommended approximately 10% of a portfolio be in physical assets in gold and silver. But in the last few years, and the amount of global instability, a lot of products coming on the market, cryptos that can go up and down rapidly, different wars happening, that's really increased over time, to where some managers of portfolios are saying, maybe 40 to 50% of wealth should be moved out of markets that move a lot and into physical. But it's really up to the client's particular appetite.
So, I mean, and is this, is this only for large investors, or is this for people with modest portfolios? Like, I mean, what does it take to get into the sort of?
Well, I think regular everyday investors should have a portion of their wealth protected through precious metals.
Our accounts start at $5,000,
Mhm.
and we're one of the only brokerage firms in Canada that offers such a low entry point. We feel like this investment is actually for everybody, and everyone should move a portion, whether it's 5,000 or whether it's 100,000. Our average account sizes are around 100,000. We have $1 million investors into physical gold and silver. So we do everybody. We serve everyone, and we like that philosophy. We really believe in this investment. You know, that we're also at the beginning of a bull market.
Yeah, the two previous bull markets, there was a bull market from 1972 to 1980 that saw gold appreciate 800% and silver appreciated 1,500%. And then there was another bull market cycle that occurred between 2002 and 2011, where again gold appreciated 800% and silver appreciated 1,200%. And we feel that this latest bull cycle started in 2015, where gold was just over $1,000 an ounce. And so if history repeats, we should see potentially $8,000 gold.
It sounds wild, but we've been here before, and this percentage point has happened in these bull market cycles before, and they always tend to do better in times exactly like this. Mention of war, global instability, and now this bull market cycle could be even bigger because now it's global, and the central banks around the world are buying up gold year after year, record-breaking levels in the last 4 years. And it looks like it's not slowing down. So why would these central banks be accumulating so much physical metal? More, the same levels, that match the 1950s.
Yeah. So as an asset, if it's tied up in precious metals, I mean, that's still an asset a person can have on their books as well, right? Like if you were going to leverage for another purchase somewhere else or things like that, I mean, it's not lost and then it's not lost, but it's in that sense, it's not tied up out of the country. I mean, you can still utilize that.
No,
It's still
our
part of your
program is
portfolio.
amazing. Actually, you can buy and sell on we say on a phone call. Usually we deal with a lot of email and the things these days, but it's liquid in all global markets. So it can be bought and sold anytime. And even better is just by having the gold and silver, you have an automatic 80% line of credit against your holdings. And when I was learning about this years ago, I was surprised to realize that a lot of the autonomy of the major players that control our globe, they're not beholden to governments or things because they actually have vast amounts of gold, and the gold then becomes their bank. So they borrow off their holdings. And that's what we do in a micro way, is that exact same thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I meant. Is it's a little harder. You're talking to the bank, secure credit. Okay, well, I got these mutual funds, these RRSPs, but I mean, they prefer secured credit. I mean, some sort of assets that theoretically, if you defaulted, they can get.
And there's nothing that's harder and more real than saying, I have X number of ounces of gold.
Yeah.
Right. And it's completely liquid for sale at any time. So yes, we get clients that come in and say, hey, I need a workup on my account because I'm applying for this or that. Yeah.
Okay, so as far as clients goes, you guys offer services across the country, right? Like you're Calgary based, but it's a national company.
Yeah, we do have clients across Canada. We have some clients down in the U.S. and we have some international clients as well. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, do you have a physical office? I mean, it's just kind of the new world and things. I'm just talking. It's one of the things too when it comes to investment. When you want to talk to a person, you want to, you need that help. I mean, you guys are available for that sort of thing.
Yeah, you bet. Our office is, just on 17th Avenue here in Calgary, and where we appreciate and love when people want to come visit us there. And also we have a broker team where they work from all over the place. So we deal with online presentations, in-person presentations, whatever people's comfort level is.
Yeah, and that's just what I mean. A person can go out. I guess you could find somewhere and actually just buy some gold if you want it, but it's not really a planned investment or portfolio or means to hold it. But at the same time, if you got a service, I don't want to phone and say, yeah, we'll put you through to the call center of somebody on the other side of the planet who's giving you chat GPT.
Yeah, no, actually, I think that's where we excel is, the feedback we've had from our clients and customers is very personalized service. Education is the main thing, and going above and beyond to make sure people are happy with their portfolios and how much silver, how much gold they have. And yeah.
Great. Well,
personalized.
and the time goes fast. There's a lot to cover on it. I understand that, and I know, but I mean, that's the thing. Is it people want to ask more questions? They want to follow up. They want to diversify their portfolio. And I think with looking at things these days, something as solid as a precious metal is a way to go. As you said, it's withstood for thousands of years. Where do they find you guys? What can they do?
For sure. Well, people can email us. My email address is kris@newworldpm.com, or people can give us a call. Our office number is 1-888-342-0190.
Okay, so in newworldpm.com, so newworldpreciousmetals.com. I mean, that's the way of it now too. People don't even type that off and just search out New World Precious Metals. They're going to find you
You
guys.
betcha. Yep.
All right, before I let you go, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that the future is really bright for gold and silver investors. I think when people get into the market to help protect some of their wealth, diversify, when you take a look out at a 10-year time horizon, I think people are going to be really happy about their choices.
I think we need something to look a little bright in these crazy times. And again, stability. That's the main thing. And precious metals are at least one thing that's always there.
Can't go to zero.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in today,
Thank you for
guys.
having
And
us.
I'm certain we'll be talking again.
Thank you so much, Cory. Appreciate it.
All right. So that was Kris and Tessa from New World Precious Metals. Look it up, guys, if you're looking to, again, diversify those things. I mean, we're in some crazy times. The dollar has been drooping. We've got instability, if you certainly want to talk about that. We don't have to worry about the tanks rolling north across the border from the United States, but one of those scary things, we've got to talk a little bit more about this with what we got going on with incoming President Trump. I mean, people kept dismissing it, saying he's just trolling. Don't worry about it. He's just playing around. Well, he's an incoming president. He's talking about annexing a nation. And repeatedly, it wasn't one tweet. It wasn't one off-the-cuff statement anymore. He keeps saying it. We have to take that seriously. I'm not saying take up arms and get ready for one. We don't have the means. Look, militarily, yeah, if the United States wanted to come on in and take Canada, it would take a matter of minutes. I don't think they're out to do that. But he was asked about that. And Trump said, no, we won't do that. But we're going to do it economically. Basically saying through tariffs, he could crush Canada down enough that we'd have no other option but to join the United States. The discussions are just getting bizarre. There's a lot of people talking online. Again, I've never been a strong advocate for unity and sentimental Canadian value. I wrote the Sovereigntist Handbook, for crying out loud. But one of the things I've always been strong on, even in that, it has to be any move. Anything that big has to mean having a majority of people on board. Alberta sovereignty, for example, nothing less than a referendum with at least 60% of people. If you're looking to get out of Confederation or change the deal, I wouldn't feel that would be anything less than that wouldn't be a comfortable way to go. It wouldn't be a democratic way to go. It wouldn't be a right way to go. As much as people are talking online, it'd be great to join the states. Oh, look at all the advantages. Look at the rights. Look at this. Look at that. Realistically, what have we got? 20%, maybe in these crazy times, 20% who might actually want to do something like that. Don't forget, there's 80% who don't. And the discussions have gotten ridiculous online. Dave was mentioning, I'm going down to Arizona. I go there every year. I love it down there. My mother is an American citizen. I don't dislike the Americans, not at all. But some people say, well, if you go down there, how do you spend your time south of the border yet oppose an annexing or merger of the nations? Well, yeah, I've been to Mexico. I've been to Guatemala. I've been to Russia. It doesn't mean I want to merge with them. I can respect them. We can have relationships. I think Canada and the United States should have a closer relationship, a better relationship. We should be having more free trade. We should be opening the borders between our nations more. But this sort of talk is going to make us introverted. This sort of talk destabilizes the Canadian economy. It makes us, think of if he really does want to bring in those tariffs that hard, it's going to hurt us all. We've got to take this seriously. It's not trolling any longer. It's a man talking about taking over a country. Years ago, those were words of war. You don't,
Well, here's a commenter. I'll read it out. Your comment about Trump repeating us becoming a 51st state over and over. Have you noticed that Trump repeats statements over and over in his previous? Now, it doesn't mean that he had a chance to do it. He has a way of negotiating that escapes the competing in the mentality. I'm not quite sure what that all means. I'm not going to make exceptions for the man. He's supposed to be acting like a president, not a troll. And his mannerism is to say something over and over and over again. Well, no, he's adding little images. He was asked at a conference, and that was not just a little statement. That was him saying, we will take Canada through economic means. I'm tired of people saying, well, he's just kidding. No, until he says he's just kidding, we've got to take it seriously. And this little fantasy thing, thinking there would be some sort of open merger and we'd all be better off as American citizens, is stupid, to be blunt. Maybe that time will come. But, if that time came, the way we'd have to do it is making our relationship closer. This is a marriage that's going to take some years. One of the things he has talked about is well, we got to clean up our act in Canada with the border crossing back and forth between the United States and Canada. Fair enough. Absolutely. We got a lot of other stupid things. We got our stupid supply management. We got a lot of trade issues we should be ironing out. One of our issues with Canada is we've been bringing in immigrants with the floodgates wide open, and some of the odious, terrible immigrants, because some of them are, and there's some fantastic ones, but a lot of the problematic ones have been going south. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I remember looking those up for a column I wrote a little while ago. And because people kept saying, oh, there's barely any illegals going from Canada to the States versus Mexico to Canada. Yeah, I know, but it's the quality of the illegals going south. And of, I think, 700 and some identified terrorists who'd gotten into the United States or suspected terrorists, something like 87% of them got in there through Canada, not Mexico. And we got to worry about terrorists. The New Orleans massacre, that terrible act, was done by a born American. But these radicals can come from all over. You'll never totally stomp it out, but you want to reduce it. Well, where's the biggest source of those coming in the United States? Unfortunately, it's Canada. People say, well, it's only a few hundred. Yeah, well, look at the amount of damage one lunatic did. What does a few hundred radical lunatics do? But see, these are the issues we need to seriously discuss. These are the things we need leadership to be going back and forth and having these conversations. But it's hard to have that, again, when we've got a lame duck prime minister who nobody takes seriously, and a president who's insistent on constantly poking at him, Elon Musk. I laughed at first, and I still kind of laugh at the poking. I'm an online, rough player on X and everything, but there's serious ramifications to this thing on what's going on. We got to get serious with these things. We do need to sit down. The whole problem we've got is we need stability in Canada. We've got to have an election, and we're months away from it. So how screwy is it going to be? And we're watching some of the politics going on, of course. Again, the Andrew Coynes and the others are furious that Danielle Smith has been talking directly to American governors. She's going to Trump's inauguration. I put a post out on X saying Danielle Smith is now the de facto and acting Prime Minister of Canada. And to be honest, she is. She's been more effective in protecting our trade interests than our idiot Prime Minister has been. He's too busy, stuck on himself, lost in himself. Part of my job means I have to listen to these things. I sat through and listened to that man do his giving notice. He didn't resign, he gave notice. And you could tell, he still doesn't realize he did anything wrong. He's a pure, true narcissist. He was talking about it's the infighting of those liberals that caused this, and I was going to solve everything, but I've been pushed out. He's still ticked off. He's been pushed out. Unfortunately, this guy is going to be, as far as we can tell, sitting in the prime minister's chair for a few more months. These critical months. Trump has shaken things up this much, and he's not even officially the president for 12 more days. So we've got to be more careful in looking at and dismissing some of the stuff that he's saying, because even if he's not coming in to take things over, he's shaking things up so badly we're rocked on our heels. People talk about it as a negotiating tactic. Fine, well, let's negotiate back. We've got to show some strength on our side, and we don't have it. We don't have it at all. It's frightening. But but nobody's there to get this country under control. This is a discussion that's been going online. Jared, our BC reporter, Yager, he's been tracking that with in Mississauga of all places, though. These lunatics out there, radical Islamists. Again, we're not talking about all Muslims, we're talking about radical Islamists. I know we can do the whole discussion on whether there's such a thing as a moderate Muslim, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into that. Let's just talk about the real, true wackos among them, because there's a number of them and there's a lot. And they put out a release, because they're trying to hold a meeting, but they're having trouble finding a venue now, to form a caliphate. What this is, it's a Muslim concept, an Islamist concept of a theocracy, of a religious holy land. They want to form it in Canada, one where we would suddenly be under the laws of Sharia law. You know, let's put the burqas on the woman. Let's whip them to death if they're cheating. You know, stonings, throwing gay people off buildings. And it's not exaggeration anymore. These things happen. Let's quit sugarcoating that crap. They do. They happen all over the Middle East. Yes, they've built quite a reputation through their actions over many, many years. So why shouldn't the Americans be concerned about this when we're pouring millions of immigrants, don't seem to be taking it under control, and we're actually considering it's free speech for these lunatics to want to form a caliphate in Canada? Yeah, we've got some crap to get together. Again, so rather than Trudeau having somebody on his behalf put out an statement saying it'll be a cold day in hell before Canada becomes 51st state, blah, 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 he should be standing up and saying, we've got radicals in Canada and we got to get them out. We've got to stomp this out. That's not what we're about. And, you know, the other aspect of this whole thing, and yes, I'm going to lay a lot of blame on Trudeau. I love doing that. I'm certainly never been a fan of his, have I? But look at the attitude we've had among Canada for years now. We're settlers. We're colonialist. Let's do land acknowledgements at every event. Let's have radio stations do land acknowledgements. Let's pretend we don't even belong here. We're beholden to some people who died 300 friggin' years ago, and it's our fault. We should feel bad about it. We should stare at our shoes. We shouldn't be proud to be Canadians. John A. Macdonald's an asshole. His statue should be torn down. Gee, I wonder why suddenly we have as many as 20 or 30% of people thinking, I don't care if we become American. Yes, because Trudeau created that post-national state. He created a country where nobody cares if they're Canadian anymore. They might not want to be American, but they don't even know what they are anymore. Land acknowledgements. What a joke. I know the land. It's here. I'm on it now, and I've got a deed for the stuff I own. I owe a fair amount on it, too. This is the environment, though, he created. Look at the loony lefties who put right in their profile, I'm a settler. Oh, yeah, I was born in Airdrie. Well, then you weren't a settler, you moron. You're an idiot. You're self-loathing. You jump on stupid, trendy things, but you weren't a settler. Well, my ancestors were. Well, so what? You go far enough back, my ancestors were running around in caves swinging clubs. It doesn't matter today. And if we want to keep hanging up on that sort of thing, gee, I wonder why we don't have any national unity. I wonder why we don't have pride. Post-national world. Yeah, it sure is, isn't it? Good work, friggin' dingbat. And you know, I'll leave off on that before I take off. Legacy media, it's dying, and I'm loving watching them die. That's where I did like seeing the success of Poilievre and Trump, where they bypassed legacy media and did it so well. And I mean, as I was scrolling through, you know, saying what stories do I want to focus on today? Okay, so here it keeps popping up, and they're talking about the bird flu. The bird flu. This is the big issue of the day. The bird flu. They're so desperate for another pandemic. They like pandemics. They like authoritarianism. They want everybody to be afraid. They want some sort of existential threat they can protect us all from. They want something to get everybody cowering and hiding so the government can come in and control things again. Why? This bird flu thing. They've been trying to pump this crap for years. Ever since COVID's gone, they've been trying one thing after another. Whatever happened to monkeypox? Weren't we all supposed to get that too? What else is going on out there? Cut it out, you jerks. God, we got enough stuff to deal with without you guys trying to come up with more hysteric pandemics. I know you loved that time. It made you feel self-important. Look at me. I lived through my World War II sort of time like my grandparents did because I lived through the great COVID pandemic. Oh my God, I survived a virus that 99.99% of the world survived as well. Good work. I'm pretty proud of you for that. I mean, if you're one of those ass clowns who's still wearing a mask, seek mental help. All right, that's enough ranting, raving, pissing, and moaning coming out of me, guys. I am going to be taking off for a couple of weeks, heading on down south. The pipeline's still going to be on. More shows are going to be going on. The Western Standard is on there. Be sure to subscribe to these things. It's how we keep rolling. It is the future. I appreciate you tuning in today, guys. And I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Keep watching things. There's going to be other stuff coming out in the meantime. And let's just try and stay sane. We can vent. We can go off now and then. But in the end, we'll all figure it out somehow. We still managed to pull through it. So have a good one. Happy New Year. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks.